Welcome back to Soulful Scrutiny. And when we went to break, we were talking about who's really running St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I'm going to start off with you gentlemen. Brian, who do you really think is running that country?
Okay.
Is this really a system where you have these ministers, the prime minister and these different ministers of governments and they all have a say? Or is this pretty much tell me who you really think is running and has the last
before I
say.
even get to that directly, I must say, or inform you guys that the committee for the cyber bill is comprised of the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister's son, the Prime Minister's son's wife, and Julian Francis.
Which is his cousin.
Which is his first cousin.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to establish that. You could draw conclusions from that. Now, with respect to the question as to who is running St. Vincent, one of the things I've observed is that in the early stages, the Prime Minister has appointed many youngsters. And that's generally a welcome thing. It's perceived to be well-intentioned. But one of the things I observe is that while some of these things may gain you political mileage, to my mind, when you have someone who is young, it seems good. People say, oh, well, he's promoting the kids and all of that. But there's a level of gullibility with the youths. And also, I also would like to say this. What's the point in giving somebody young a position if you are going to be the one making the decision? Is it just a figurehead?
That was my next question.
And, generally, you have all these ministers of parliament. There are 15 members of parliament in St. Vincent that comprises the government. On his side, he's claiming to have 8. To me, there are 3 persons running St. Vincent right now: the Prime Minister, his son, and his first cousin. I'm very disappointed that a bill such as the cyber bill, I have not seen not one of them come out on any aspect of the bill. There is a portion of the bill...
Any of them meaning any of the other parliamentarians?
Any of them meaning any member of his party come out in opposition to any aspect of the bill. There are lawyers there, there are people who are supposed to be fighting for free speech. Now that portion that has to do with extradition and criminalizing defamation, is that not something that bothers you? That is not even a partisan issue. And I must also say something about my good friend Paul Scout. I don't see the evidence. I have no access to the evidence, but the person who I know, I doubt that he will make those statements. But I believe that they're trying to make an example out of him, to harass him, even if in my mind I don't think they could win the case, but just to make his life miserable. And that's something we've been dealing with. The world needs to take note. Everyone, including his supporters, if you have not been paying close attention to him, they need to take a close look at him right now, because what he's doing, the main reason for what he's doing and what he's claiming is the main reason is not the same thing. We have to watch him very carefully. How could you in this day and age try to silence people on social media? Those are normal democratic practices. There's nothing, no one is threatening, no one is trying to harm anyone. People just critiquing the government, and there are many aspects of the government that ought to be critiqued. Look at what's going on with Ames. Just so much things to talk about in St. Vincent. And against that backdrop, how could you have a silencing mechanism so that people can speak out? People need to speak out more, not less. And to answer your question, there's only one person running St. Vincent right now.
Is it one person or 3 people?
Well, 3 persons, I should say. Those tried, father, son, and first cousin.
And so the other parliamentarians you would say is what? The figureheads?
They are just there for whatever other reason he has them for, but not...
Would you say, Benny, that this having them there but not really giving them power is his way of mimicking democracy, when in fact what he really has is more akin to a dictatorship?
I think it's what's wrong with St. Vincent today. first of all. Reason why I say this is because I cannot see myself as a politician or any other member of government where I'm only there for show. I can't make decisions. I can't give inputs on anything. So then why are you there? Almost every politician in St. Vincent under Ralph Gonsalves, they're only there, they show for election purposes.
Right.
After election, they disappear.
Right. You don't hear anything.
Unless they need to show up for parliament or whatever the case is, they're not visible in their community. They're not there trying to improve the community by building roads, having activities for kids. None of that. You don't see none of that happening in St. Vincent. So why are you really there if you're not there to better your community that you represent?
Right.
Better the lives of the people of St. Vincent on a whole. So then if you're going to be in a situation where you can't make decisions, why are you there?
Why are you there?
Are you just there because it's a salary? Then we're all in for the wrong reason. Politics, people get into politics because they generally want to make a difference. They want to help. They're patriotic.
Right.
Their main thing is to get into a position where they can better their community and better the country on a whole. If you can't do that, then you're just standing in the way of democracy. First of all, that's what I have to say.
That's right. Yeah.
Because right now, we all know who runs St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It isn't the Unity Labour Party, first of all. They're in government. But we know it's a family that runs St. Vincent. A family. Nobody else has any say. We can, the ULP people, they can try and, put any kind of spin on it what they want. But, as they say, you could dress up a pig, a goat, a sheep, anyhow, you can put lipstick on it, but at the end of the day, it's still that. It don't change.
Okay. That is so true. That is so true. So let's go to Benny. What's your take on who's really running St. Vincent? Do you agree with these gentlemen?
Totally. I totally agree. I can't even add any more to what they said, just to concur that it's just a triumvirate running St. Vincent, Ralph and his cousin and his son. The other ministers, I think, fulfills the constitutional aspect of having a parliament. They're there. You want to know how powerful he is? Listen to the question and answer time in the House. Everything goes back to Ralph. This is not, if you address it to a particular minister, he says, this is not for me. Ask the Prime Minister. And that alone tells you who are the people running. Only them three answer any questions really in any question and answer time. Those people are the people running St. Vincent. And like Benny eloquently said, it's a family affair. You understand? And regarding my friend Paulstrom, like Brian said, I don't have nothing with the evidence, but I know that in the end, Paul will be vindicated. That it's all designed to punish him and to make him feel it the hard way in their own head. You know what I mean? But alluding to this, going back to the cyber bill, only somebody who thinks that they own a country or wants to rule forever will make these laws. Because they just want to protect themselves. That's what they were feel. But like Brian said, if people in Simmons must get up and stand up. We can only speak, but they have to get up and be hungry enough and subdued enough to take back their country from these three people.
What do you say to those who say that the Prime Minister is an old man and his main goal in trying to get back in power is so he can pass the Prime Ministership, if you will, to his son? How many people believe that this older man is fighting this hard for an office, even amid cries for fresh elections because people felt disenfranchised, they felt that the election was not fair? A lot of people say, well, he is just doing that so that he can get his son in and pass the torch to his son, who would then carry on the family dynasty. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with that?
It's exactly what you said. And because this man cannot legally win no election in St. Vincent. He cannot go to the populace and say, I did this, I improved infrastructure. Socioeconomically, St. Vincent is soaring. He cannot do that. So what he does, they devise a way to win it legally so he can step out. I don't know what the UFP's constitution is, but it seems he does anything. He installs and uninstalls. So obviously, I think, given his son as Minister of Foreign Affairs or whatever that portfolio is a powerful portfolio where you go to the foreign places and negotiate. So you can obviously see that he's gearing up to be the next Prime Minister. I don't know if those weak brothers in that parliament or in that party gonna contest or what, but we all should watch and see. But as it appears, it seems as though he's gearing him up to be the next Prime Minister of St. Vincent, sadly.
Okay. So, as we get ready to end this program, what parting words do you want to leave our audience with in terms of what you think needs to be done in St. Vincent to get this situation corrected?
Well, I think a lot of people still waiting on that court petition, which can take forever. I think that the people, along with the opposition, trying to mobilize them, if they want, will have to stand up and get rid of this monster called this guy illegally governing the country. They have to stand up, waiting for the petition, yes, but you have to stand up and fight for your right and free speech.
I think we're starting to have some difficulties there with Benny, with Eric. So we're going to turn over to you two gentlemen. Any parting words regarding what you think needs to be done in St. Vincent to correct the situation, both with Mr. Scrub as well as just basically what's going on there, the whole idea of the country being in the grip of a dictatorship?
First of all, I would like to say we in the diaspora take a lot of hit for a lot of the stuff that goes on in St. Vincent. We speak out not because we dislike the government. We speak out because we love our country. Mm-hmm. That's the bottom line. We all here in America or Canada or England or wherever part of the world we are, try to make a better life. Not just for ourselves, but for those who are back home. We all have intentions of going back to our land. We all love St. Vincent dearly, and that's at the end of the day, we all would like to move back there and live out our life one day. So when we speak passionately about what's going on in St. Vincent, because it's still our home, we still care, and that's where we want to be. I still have Vincentian blood in me. I tell everybody knows me. I am a veteran of the United States. I've done the law enforcement thing, amounts with a lot of other things. But at the end of the day, St. Vincent, that's where my heart is. Mm-hmm. That's where my roots are, and that's where it's always going to be. I'm going to, hopefully, try to go back to St. Vincent every year, and I hope that one day soon I could move back for good. That's where I want to be. But under the current regime, a lot of people have been turning away. They don't want to move back home. They're afraid. People are afraid to invest because of the fact that they would not see where their money going. It's like, buying a dead horse and expect it to take you around. It's not going to happen. We got no tourism industry. We got no agricultural industry. Nothing in St. Vincent is profitable right now. The only thing seems to be... Some of the
banks are in trouble?
Banks are in trouble. It's only a matter of time before the banks go belly up and start moving out of the country. Because why? They can't make a profit. Mm-hmm. Simple. That's why every other business. Look, in the last 15 years, we probably had 100, more than 100, way more than 100 businesses go belly up. Mm-hmm. Whether it's by target
in a small country of 110,000 people.
Whether it's significant. Whether it's direct victimization or hardship, nothing seemed to be working, and the people in power cannot see that because they're like racehorses. They just have their head straight ahead, and they don't see who's falling by the side. They don't see what the struggle of the people, and frankly, they just don't care. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I would love to see St. Vincent have a system where the police and our court system is not run by the government. Right. There should be no political affiliation. To appoint a head cop, we need to have them, go to a committee, not just set up by the government, but also by both parties. Mm-hmm. Have it 10-person panel if you want, 5 NDP, 5 ULP, and let them debate on who to decide who is most fit for the job. Same thing with DPP and police officers, head police officers, because these are people who everybody needs to depend on, not just ULP, not just NDP.
And for those listening, NDP is the opposition party that is coming up against the Prime Minister's ULP party. So Brian, what's your parting words?
Well, yeah, one of the things that I will advise people to do is don't wait till something happens to you or your loved ones before you criticize. Mm-hmm. A lot of things that are happening in St. Vincent are bigger than politics. There's been a strategy to always divide, to always say a critic was, wanted a position that he didn't get, somewhat minimize what you have to say. I mean, this thing with this bill, for instance, this is not about NDP or ULP or DRP or Green Party. It's just basic common sense. And if this does not wake up with sanctions to the true nature of the beast that they deal with, I don't know what else would. I would not be a member of any party that is involved in trying to silence others. That is a no-no for me. One of the major things that I think has to happen in St. Vincent, and for me, before I'm to get 100% behind a party, it has to guarantee me that there will be some type of integrity legislation. Within months of taking office, the excesses of this government has been too much. I have been a supporter of this government, the ULP party. I voted once in my life. That's the only party I ever voted for in St. Vincent. And while I'm not one of those who would say that they have not done anything positive, I have not seen much positive lately. And one of the things I could tell you is from early on, there has been a level of heavy-handedness and undemocratic tendencies in the leadership of the party that I've never been comfortable with. I've seen it. I've spoken to people in St. Vincent, even in the early stages, on what I would consider normal conversations. And just like Benny, the level of reaction was such, they were so scared. They asked me to stop many times, and then after a while I realized I was careful. One of them actually said, I don't want to lose my job Monday morning, and that's when I had to change the conversation. And things that were, to me, quite frankly, normal conversation.
That would have normally taken place in St. Vincent and Grenadines.
Yeah, in St. Vincent. So I think we have to be very mindful, pay attention to all politicians. You got to understand we're dealing with a guy who is not exactly stupid. And even when he does, or he makes his missteps, he already has a backup plan. He has a plan B and a plan C. And just because he says it's the truth doesn't make it to be the truth. What we have with this cyber bill and the arrest of Paul Scott does not come from a place other than a place of darkness and oppression. That is my final words.
Well, thank you very much. As we get ready to wrap up this edition of Soulful Scrutiny, my parting words is this. I've never voted in St. Vincent of the Grenadines. I left there when I was 20 years of age. And so at this point of my life, this is more home to me. But I will never see another place as my homeland, because that is my homeland. I could say this is my new home. That is always my homeland, and it was always my plan to retire back there and spend my retirement enjoying the ocean and having, tranquil life. And what I'm seeing there right now, it is something that I don't recognize, and it is giving me great pause to even think of going there to retire. Now, I want to appeal to people, not based on party line, because like I said, I never voted for any of these parties. And I want to see a St. Vincent regardless. Let's say the NDP goes into power. I want a vibrant ULP or some other party that will keep them in check. My family was staunch. They had moved from the NDP and became staunch ULP supporters. So this isn't to me about this side over that side. Forget about the politicians for a minute. Because when they are gone, we, the Vincentian people, and our children and grandchildren are going to feel the grind of the damage that is being done to St. Vincent right now. So have some, what I'm asking people to do, have some compassion. Forget about who you supported. If you're in a country and you are gripped with fear of being able to speak, being able to protest, a country that was the epitome of a free society, what would it feel like? So forget about the ULP, forget about NDP. Look at the Vincentian people, many of whom are your relatives and your friends and your neighbors, because we are a small country. And most of us, if we follow the pumpkin vines, would find that we are related. So let's look at what's happening. Today is Paul, tomorrow would be Peter, and the next day would be Mary. It was Joseph Bibi, and it was Paul. Who would it be next that's going to be stopped when they go on vacation? Because they spoke out about what's going on there. I will forever speak out, and if the NDP or any other party goes into power, I will be right there criticizing them just as much. Because I am for St. Vincent, the people, the country, not about politicians. Because politicians will go this way, they will go that way. You would hear this one criticize this one, and he gets into power, and then they do worse than what was done before. So you don't want to base things on party line. You just want to look at the people in the Vincentian people, and have compassion. Speak out. We have a situation happening here in this country, in the black community, where police officers have been brutalizing citizens in the black community. And the reason that something is being done is because people who are white and other races started speaking out. Sometimes it takes people who are on that same side that's doing the wrong to speak out, to get attention. So I'm asking everybody who is looking at this program, forget about politics and just think about St. Vincent. Is this the St. Vincent that you want, that's going to arrest people for marching peacefully? That's going to confiscate somebody's travel document and stop them from leaving? That's going to victimize people's businesses just so that they could keep them quiet or destroy their lives? Is that the St. Vincent you want to retire to, or you want your family members to live in? I don't know about you, but I don't. Thank you very much for watching this edition of Soulful Scrutiny. Join me for the next program. Thank you.